My ex-wife did not even ask in this hearing for me to have, for my visitation to be limited. Susan Meshler shows up for court with a document that nobody had seen yet, recommending that I have limited supervised visitation, solely based on her concern about my daughter's ability to quote the Bible.
In cross-examination, Susan Meshler was asked if John had alienated even one child from their mother.
Did they name one child that I have turned against Kim? That I've turned against Kim?
Did they name one child? Oh, no.
She was also asked about any abuse.
The kids really just talked about the discipline, and they don't talk about it in terms of, they don't even talk about it in terms of abuse. They really just talk about it in terms of how we used to be disciplined, or they're not anymore, according to them.
In Susan Meshler's own words, John has not alienated even one child from their mother, and the children themselves don't even refer to abusive discipline. In spite of this, Susan Meshler recommended the children only be allowed limited supervised visitation with their father.
That's a shame. My children have been refused. They've been denied their right to present their case, or to tell the court what their feelings are, because that would ruin, and it would totally expose Susan Meshler of her evil deeds. And the court refused to grant Susan Meshler's wishes and asked them to make a motion for that. I asked for a hearing for that, that my children be heard. And again, I was refused the right to depose witnesses. I was refused answers to my interrogatories. Susan Meshler had an ex parte hearing in open court, went back to the judge's chambers in front of us. She said in front of 3 witnesses that the judge had already agreed to sign her documentation and ask the clerk to make copies of it. I hadn't seen those documents. Can she be taken seriously?
KRS 620.030 requires lawyers and other officials to make a detailed report to the authorities within 48 hours of being made aware of possible abuse.
She said that my children didn't mention to her drug use in the house. Did the children bring up the drug use in the home? And
No, they did not. No, there was no talk of any drug use. I did read some of the letters that you had attached to the supplemented discovery, so I was aware of those things, but no, none of the children brought any of that up. No one, down to Christopher, the smallest one. No one talked about drug use. No one talked about conditions in the home being harmful.
Well, my daughter is on the internet saying she told the guardian ad litem about the drug use in the house.
The following is clipped from a video found on YouTube where Crystal was pleading for help after being denied by the courts.
I mean, I sent letters in to the judge, to the court, to the attorneys, everybody. Finally, just a while ago, the judge assigned a guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem came in. She talked to me and my brothers and sisters. I told her everything. I told her about the drugs in my basement, and the horrible treatment that we get with my mom, from her and her boyfriend, his kids, and I told her everything and how much I want to live with my dad, and well, so far she has done nothing whatsoever.
Well, I believe my daughter. I don't believe Susan Meshler. The court said that I needed to take my children to counseling. So I did. I took them to James Wilson, a certified clinical psychologist who specializes in marriage and family counseling. Well, when I came back to court with an affidavit from him stating that there was no evidence of any abuse whatsoever by their father, not mentally, physically, emotionally, or any type of abuse, and that my children said they didn't fear any type of abuse from me, and that they told Susan Meshler the same thing. Do you know what Susan Meshler's response was to that? It was, "Oh, Mr. Steele, if you want to see your children again, you're going to have to not go back to that counselor. And you're going to have to go see my friend, the counselor." Well, at that point, I hadn't seen or talked to my children for over 2 months because John David Myles and Susan Meshler had their little ex parte meeting and decided I was a danger to my children solely based on John David Myles' opinion, having no evidence whatsoever before the court of any abuse whatsoever.
It had been about 2 months without even a phone conversation with the children when that offer was made. It's been about 2 months since it was accepted. That's over 4 months of nothing being accomplished, and they still haven't allowed the slightest contact with the children.